Hey crew, welcome back. This is the second industrialization video. You should have finished the first one before watching this one and gotten your notes checked and your questions stamped by me. So welcome back. We're going to keep rolling. You should be on section 2. This is the rise of big business and heavy industry. This is another aspect of the Industrial Revolution. So, three effects, or three things that happen due to this rise of big business and heavy industry. The first thing is that factories spread all over, specifically in cities, and this changed the nature of work for people. Farmers had moved from those rural areas into the urban cities, and there were terrible working conditions in the factories. We'll discuss that later. You also should know that steel, railroad, and oil industries, it's not on your PowerPoint here, but oil industries dominated. This is that heavy industry that I'm talking about. Corporate leaders, or the leaders of these industries, you can see this guy right here, his name's Cornelius Vanderbilt. They actually were caught bribing congressional representatives to get more federal grant money from the government, to build more railroad, to invest in steel production and oil production. So they were the big guys of the time. And then lastly, urbanization is another factor of this rise of big business. Urbanization is the expansion of cities. This is created by the farmers moving from rural to urban, as well as factories popping up in these cities. And urbanization results in a few things like a higher crime rate, high pollution, overcrowding with tenement buildings, sanitation and safety issues. The living conditions were not great during this period of time. So we'll be able to discuss that more, but these are the three major impacts of heavy industry. The government actually favored big businesses, if you couldn't tell by the congressional representatives getting bribed. And the government actually tends to favor big businesses today as well. And the main reason why is this laissez-faire concept that we discussed previously in video 1, that the government kind of kept their hands off of industry and let the business do kind of whatever they wanted to get the profit that they needed. This stimulated the economy. It created jobs. It created money. So the government saw this as a good thing, these heavy industries dominating. So these guys, these really influential businessmen, they used specific practices to dominate business. So they got rid of their competition and they drove up the prices of the goods. They believed in a philosophy of social Darwinism. And obviously, they really liked the laissez-faire government because they were allowed to do pretty much whatever they wanted. They became billionaires due to the combination of these things. So social Darwinism, you need to know what this means. Charles Darwin had this theory about evolution, and he said that the strongest and the fittest are the ones to survive in nature. Well, these business people and some psychologists and people during the Industrial Revolution, they kind of took this idea about evolution in animals and they applied it to the everyday life of individuals. So they said that competition is good for people. Competition makes you healthy, it makes you strong, and only the fittest will survive in competition. So that's what they used to justify this laissez-faire government, in that if I am a really successful businessman and I'm knocking out all my competition, that's just because I'm the strongest and I deserve this place. They saw money as a sign of God's favor. The gods were smiling down upon them and allowing them to be successful because they were the strongest and fittest. And this is really when we begin the higher class men begin to perpetuate this idea that poor people are lazy, that they're inferior, that they deserve to be impoverished, that they're not fit enough to survive, and they're not successful because of something inside of themselves, not because of forces around them that may be holding them down. So some bad things that these robber barons were able to do. A monopoly. You see the game there. A monopoly is a firm that buys out all of its competitors. So it is the only firm or the only corporation that has control of that industry's production. So you could think about Apple and Microsoft. If Apple were to buy Microsoft, they would have a monopoly on the computer market. So what this does is it drives wages down and it drives prices up. And all in all, this actually hurts the economy. Another negative is this creation of trust. So instead of kind of getting rid of all of your competition by buying them up, these corporations would join together and they would create a trust or a board of trustees. And this board of trustees ran the corporations together as if they were one big corporation. So then the companies earn profits from the trust to kind of get around the monopoly thing. So here are some examples. John D. Rockefeller, he was the leader of Standard Oil. He was actually the wealthiest American during the Industrial Revolution. He was worth over $200 billion. And funny thing is, Standard Oil was actually first started in Ohio. So here is the logo that he first used in Ohio, Ohio. Andrew Carnegie is another robber baron or one of these big industry cats. He created Carnegie Steel, and then we know that as U.S. Steel. He was the second wealthiest American, right after your dude Rockefeller comes Carnegie. After Carnegie, we've got Vanderbilt. We talked about him previously. He established the railroad system. He was the third wealthiest American. So the government actually attempted to respond to this big business, and they passed something called the Sherman Antitrust Act in 1890. They said it was illegal to form a trust if it interfered with free trade between states or other countries. So this was a really loose kind of request for these trusts to not consolidate too much of their power. It wasn't really successful at all, but the government at least made an attempt to do something about the overrunning of business. Okay, we are on section 3 about immigration. This is another factor of industrialization in this time period that you need to know about. So, we call this time period new immigration. Old immigration happened before 1890. New immigration happens afterwards, oftentimes spurred by this large boom in industry. These people are coming to America or came to America because they're looking for jobs, primarily, and there are plenty of them to be had. There is extreme competition between the immigrants to get these jobs, and this actually drives wages way, way, way down. These are particularly European and Asian immigrants. So let's see where they came in. So if you look at the top right-hand corner of the computer, so we're looking up here, this is Ellis Island in New York, and you can see the Statue of Liberty right here. I've also put her here for you to see. This was one of the main immigration centers during this period of new immigration. And then these two right here are photographs of Angel Island in San Francisco. So typically we see European immigrants coming in through Ellis Island, and oftentimes Asian immigrants coming in through Angel Island in San Francisco. Some photographs of some immigrants making the journey. These are European immigrants coming in on a boat, oftentimes very full. Got some more immigrants. So some push and pull factors about why do immigrants come to the United States. It's not just about jobs. Another thing is poverty is running rampant in a lot of countries during this time period, and as well as social status. Sometimes it's hard to get out of a specific social atmosphere, so a lot of people try to escape that poverty and that social status and come to the U.S. to start over. Some people were avoiding forced military service. Others left their homes because there were food shortages or prices were going up and they couldn't afford anymore. Others were fleeing religious persecution. They were trying to find somewhere where they could practice their religion freely and that they could gain more rights as citizens. And then one last reason is there's high population density, which means that a lot of people live in a really small place in a lot of countries. So some people move to America to try to escape that as well. So some commonly used terms that you need to know about this period of new immigration is number one is a melting pot. So this is the idea that all of these cultures were coming together into this big cauldron, this big pot, this big American pot. And as they stirred it, everyone became American. And all of their cultures molded together to create this brand new American culture. America isn't really seen as a melting pot anymore. It's more like a salad bowl. So salad bowl, so if you think about a salad, instead of like melting bunches of cheese together, right? Think about a salad bowl. Each individual ingredient still retains its own characteristics. My bacon is still crispy. My boiled egg is still an egg. It doesn't turn into bacon, right? So this salad bowl idea is that all of the cultures, all of the people that come in, they retain some specific aspect of the culture that they came from, but they also become more American as well. So they contribute to the overall salad. They're all different ingredients. And then lastly, this one's very important. Nativism. Very, very important. It's important. This is an anti-immigrant, anti-foreign attitude among Americans that were not immigrants, that were longer time residents of America. This really surges, or this really heightens due to these unprecedented and large numbers of European and Asian immigrants coming to the U.S. during this time period. So due to the nativism, there was this huge resistance to immigration, just like we're seeing today. If you look down here at the bottom of your slide, it says, they're taking our jobs. And that's exactly what we hear today about immigrants. And that's exactly what we heard in the 1890s about immigrants. You can see here the Irish need not apply. There was employment discrimination. There was discrimination against Irish people and Catholics. This middle one right here, this middle cartoon, you can see these American men that are obviously American. There's a sign here that says no Chinese, and they're hanging a Chinese immigrant here dressed in traditional dress, very stereotypical. And then lastly, we see this huge funnel, and down here it says the only way to handle it, and it looks like Uncle Sam here is only letting 3% of the immigrants in, because everyone wanted to come to America. So there's this huge racist, nativist backlash to all of these new immigrants. We see here a KKK rally. It was in Washington, D.C., and it was put together just to scare these new immigrants and African Americans. So, here we are again. It is time to stop and answer the prompts on your guided notes. If you need to go back and listen again to the notes, I suggest that you do. I talk really fast. And you make sure that they are completely and thoroughly filled out before you come to me and get your stamp. Thanks a lot. Bye.